following podcast is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised, so kids shouldn't be listening. Elton says fuck and shit a lot, sometimes fucking shit, but rarely does he advocate actually fucking shit. You get it, enjoy the show.
Space. What used to be the final frontier, but what, as of late, is just the latest frontier to be ruined by rich people who just want to float in it. Rather than their many, many pools that are meant to be floated in. Or you know what, space, otherwise known as the infinite black void with planets and stars and all that shit that envelops everything we've ever known or will ever see. Space. The outer one. The book I'm into this time is all about it. And more to the point, the stuff that goes on inside of it. Kind of. Well, not all of it, obviously, but some of it. It plays a large part in the story, though, which happens to be the product of one of the greatest team-ups in cinematic and literary history. At the core of that team, of course, is a story. Like I said at the beginning of this thing, a story involving ancient monkeys murdering each other. Not ancient spaceships being used for murder, and equally, not at all ancient sociopathic murderous AI computers. Huh? All right. Shit. I almost forgot. A seriously bored guy named Dave. What is not to love about a story that has all of that in it? The murdering monkeys, the spaceships where murders happen, and sociopathic murderous AI computer. This story was so good they made a movie about it at the same time they made the book about it. It was that good, I guess. They set out to create the proverbial best science fiction movie ever. And what they ended up creating was an exquisite combination of high technical accuracy, beautiful artistry, and one of the greatest psychedelic nightmare freakouts ever. This time around, follow me into the void and find out the meaning of, my God, it's full of stars. And what that's all about. Maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe that's a spoiler. And just stick around.
This is out to read some book a week. Podcast about books down to read. This is out to read some book a week. Podcast about books down to read. Yeah, and that's all. Since I'm done.
Oh boy. Under the watchful eye of Bob Stratos and Apollo. Welcome to Elton Reads a Book a Week, the podcast about books that Elton reads. According to my own theme song. I am Elton, and I read a book a week. This episode is filled to the brim with stuff. So much stuff. Or for you adults out there, shit, if you will. So if you don't mind, I'll try to keep this rolling, and get right into it. Please like and subscribe, and if you have any questions or want to yell at me or anything, just email me at eltonreadsabookaweek@gmail.com. Join the Patreon and buy the book using the link below, because I get a little bit of, percentage of each sale. Help a guy out. Got all that shit out of the way just now. Bam! The book this time around is 2001, A Space Odyssey. A favorite of mine since, I think, around middle school, I'm not sure, as I've read it and its sequels quite a few times. It's become a chicken and egg kind of scenario in my head. I think I might be developing early onset something. I don't know, because it's become kind of like an Ouroboros kind of thing, there's no beginning or end. It's maybe, geez, I can't even think of what mental thing I could have. Dementia? Maybe Alzheimer's. Or, I'm just a person with below average memory who has probably abused my brains in more ways than one over the years. And who cares? It's a good science fiction book written in a non-fantastical way that I appreciate. I didn't watch the movie until a few years later, I'm pretty sure. And that led me to watching most of Stanley Kubrick's work after that. He's the director of 2001, A Space Odyssey, the movie that won 4 fucking Oscars. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. Or good enough to win an Oscar. Which, if we're horse racing these days, is the bigger deal in most people's eyes. Arthur and Stan the Man wrote the book and script for the movie at the same time, more or less, back in the late 60s. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about Arthur C. before we go headlong into movie greatness, huh? Let me put on my drama voice for a second. If you've ever looked up at the stars, and that's my dramatic voice, Jesus Christ. If you've ever looked up at the stars and wondered what's out there, you're in good company. Arthur C. Clarke spent his whole life doing just that, and without the aid of drugs, like a normal person. Though that wasn't to say he wasn't doing some dope adjacent shit. According to him, quote, science fiction is the only genuine consciousness-expanding drug. He was on that gateway drug called reading. Yeah. So, so being that he wrote science fiction, was he a dealer? Or was he getting high on his own supply? Was he taking in drugs and then making drugs? Like a Breaking Bad kind of, like Breaking Bad, but if Walter White was on meth while he made meth. Was it that kind of deal? I don't know where I'm going with this. Look, he wasn't just a science fiction writer. He was a dreamer who helped shape the way we think about space technology in the future. His life story is one of curiosity, invention, and a lifelong love affair with doing drugs like science fiction. And also making drugs. Like a meth addict. Like a meth addict making meth to sell to meth addicts. Huh. Anyway, he had a love affair with science and storytelling is what I was getting at. Why did I start talking about meth? I don't know. Arthur C. Clarke was born in 1917 in the quiet English town of Minehead, Somerset, a nice little place I would like to move to. Please give me money so I can move, please. Anyway, he was born in Minehead, Somerset in England. And if we zoom out, we'll discover that is on the planet called Earth, which according to the late great Jimi Hendrix is the third stone from the sun, which 9 out of 10 astrophysicists agree is mostly accurate. That is according to the sum total of 0 astrophysicists that I consulted and or surveyed for that answer. So, do with that what you will. He grew up on a farm surrounded by fields and a big open sky, and as a kid he was obsessed with the stars. And while other boys his age were discovering things like masturbation, or at the very least the joys of smoking and drinking while masturbating, he built his own telescope instead. And at 13 he spent countless nights stargazing. He also loved collecting fossils, which probably helped spark his fascination with the mysteries of the universe. Clarke was a voracious reader as a kid, devouring American science fiction magazines and books like Olaf Stapleton's Last and First Men and David Lasser's The Conquest of Space. By his teens, he had yet to discover his own penis, and he was already writing articles for the Junior Astronomical Association's journal, which, he even convinced the editor to let him start an astronautics section. What a complete fucking nerd. Wait, no, that's not fair. That's not fair. But, okay. But it's 7 out of 10 of the previous astrophysicists mentioned earlier agree that, yeah, it is mostly accurate to call him a nerd. Mm-hmm. That's what they said. The imaginary astrophysicist. It was clear early on Clarke wasn't just going to read about space. He wanted to be part of the conversation about space, a super nerdy conversation about space. He wanted to be involved in a super nerdy. He didn't have. I don't know if any girls were talking to him at this point. I don't see that. I don't know. No. Come on. In 1936, at the age of 19, I think, if I did my math right, which I'm terrible at math, so email me and correct me if I'm wrong. Arthur C. Clarke moved to London, taking a job as a pensioner's auditor. Boring nerd shit. But his real passion, of course, was, again, space. So he joined the British Interplanetary Society, rubbing elbows with other enthusiasts, nerds, who dreamed of rockets and moon landings, and not girls. At least that's not what they told their buddies at the British. Who's going to shame at a place like that, you know? Don't bring up girls and the lack of not being able to get them, because everyone's just going to cry. And in the British Interplanetary Society, it's just a place to cry. And no one wants that. Look, quote, people then must have made fun of it, says Arthur, about the British Interplanetary Society. He said, we were going to make another empire out there. The British Interplanetary Society, get it? They were going to make another British empire out there? That's what he's trying to say. It's fucking nerd shit. After Clarke moved to London, his flat became the center of activities for the growing number of space cadets. And he began to write the journals, the Society's journal, in addition to fictional pieces for fanzines. The group quickly spiraled a little bit by they wanted to take things into their own hands, and they plotted to steal rocket fuel and other highly controlled substances and materials to build their own rockets. A young, crazily ambitious Arthur C. Clarke was chosen to be spokesman for this group due to his unmatched natural charisma and wit, and obviously for writing the Society's journal and all those fictional pieces for fanzines. Soon after, they stole some military-grade experimental rocket fuel. The group decided on a preemptive media campaign to sour the investigation about the theft, which they implemented by filming Arthur making a statement. The statement was as follows, quote, "We are the Space Liberation Front. We've taken possession of a bunch of rocket fuel. A buttload, even." He snickers. Guys, hey, I said but. Who wrote but in this script, guys? guys. You know what's fucking funny? It's fucking hilarious. No, seriously, no. No, seriously. No, seriously. Listen. Guys, Guys, stop laughing. Seriously. Seriously. Butt cheeks. Oh my God, guys, I told you. I totally told you. Butt cheeks. Butt cheeks. The film just breaks down into fits of laughter after that before cutting off. The film was never taken seriously by any government agencies or authorities, and it was never aired by any news agency. Everyone would later find out that what the group had actually stolen was not, in fact, military grade experimental rocket fuel, but was instead really just 2 barrels of what turned out to be cheese sauce. As it would happen, Arthur and the members of the organization were high as fuck because they'd been on a science fiction reading bender the entire week before they took the barrels. Yeah, and did I go on way too long about that? Yeah. Damn it. I know. It was an incredibly stupid joke. Elton, yeah, yes, it was. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, but that's the kind of commitment I'm willing to make here. All right, on Elton Reads a Book a Week. Don't judge me. Don't you dare judge me. When World War II broke out, Clarke joined the Royal Air Force, where he became a radar instructor and technician because he's a nerd and probably smart. Smart probably had more to do with it. His hands-on experience with cutting-edge technology would later shape his later writing and thinking. And that's where the nerd comes in. You remember all the stuff about the British radar stuff from the Tizard mission episode? Of course you do, because you listened to that before you listened to this one, didn't you? Didn't you? Maybe you should listen to it after this one. I'm just saying, maybe you want to catch up. I don't know. Maybe you want to do that. Whatever. Okay. The war years were pivotal. The war years were pivotal for Clarke, as they were with everyone involved because, and I feel I have to emphasize this, war fucks up everyone's lives. No one in or around a war wakes up and says, "Oh, you know, I almost forgot about the bloody bombs dropping and people shooting each other outside. I guess it's going to be one of those days. Oh my goodness, with all the people screaming in anguish and me forgetting where my car keys are. You know, I'd forget where my own head is if I wasn't constantly terrified it was going to be caught by a bullet, shot in the head at any conceivable moment. Oh, warring, you incredibly minor yet non-traumatizing, yet hell on earth inconvenience. Pity. So not only did Clarke write his first and only non-science fiction novel, Glide Path, based on his radar work, but he also came up with one of his most groundbreaking ideas. In 1945, Clarke published an article in Wireless World magazine proposing that satellites in geostationary orbit would relay radio and TV signals around the world. At the time, it sounded like science fiction, but within a few decades, it became a reality. Today, the Clarke orbit at 35,786 kilometers above Earth is named in his honor. So, those are some nerd accolades I bet you wish you had. Did you ever have an orbit named after you? Fuck no. We're just down here on Earth with no orbits named after us. Fuck, I feel terrible. After the war, Clarke dove headfirst into writing. Being part of the post-war scene, he fell into the hard-drinking, hard-partying lifestyle of an England desperately trying to rebound. He lost himself among a subculture of writers who reacted against the perceived constraints of post-war British society and culture, often spending weeks with authors like Philip Larkin, Kingsley Amis, and John Wayne. And no, not that John Wayne. This one is spelled W-A-I-N. Soon Arthur was out on all-night benders and waking up in strange alleys in the city. His wake-up call finally came when a couple of his old friends from the British Interplanetary Society found him behind a bar, passed out in his own filth. According to Clarke, they slapped him until he awoke, asking him if, quote, he was on that shit again. And he replied, "Yeah, man, what's it to you, huh? I know my limits. I ain't no fucking baby, man. I can handle my shit." To which they replied, "Can you, Arthur? Just look at yourself, mate. You've fallen to pieces. You need to kick this insane science fiction habit or you're going to die, Arthur. Is that what you want?" Okay, yeah, I know. I know. Obviously none of that happened, so don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. His first stories appeared in Astounding Science Fiction in 1946. And by 1951, he was writing full-time and mainlining science fiction in full-blown addict fashion. His first novel, Against the Fall of Night, was so popular that he had to revise it twice, finally publishing it as The City and the Stars. A must-read for any science fiction fan. I haven't read it, but according to 9 out of 10 astrophysicists, it is indeed a book with pages. So yeah, back to Arthur's rise to prominence. It was childhood's end in 1953 that really put Arthur C. Clarke on the map. The book tells the story of a peaceful alien invasion that ushers in a golden age for humanity. But with a twist, the aliens are guiding us toward a strange and transcendent, there it is, not transcendental, why the fuck did I say that? The aliens are guiding us toward a strange and transcendent future. But something happens with the children. Gasp! Not the children! The novel's mix of awe, mystery, and big ideas, like everyone gaining psychic abilities and whatnot, captured readers' imaginations and cemented Clarke's reputation as a master of the genre. Several attempts to adapt the novel into a film or miniseries have been made, with varying levels of success. In fact, this is what this story got director Stanley Kubrick piqued his interest in the 1960s, but he, of course, would later go on to collaborate with him on 2001: A Space Odyssey instead in 1968, like I said before. Did I? I can't remember. Clarke's most famous project began with a short story called The Sentinel. It's set in 1996. At the time of writing, several decades in the future, and now several decades in the past. That's just nuts. Director Stanley Kubrick reached out to Clarke in the 1960s, hoping to adapt one of his works. Together, they created 2001: A Space Odyssey, both a film and novel that changed, again, science fiction forever, and made a movie that won a four. I was going to say a fuckload, but it's 4, right? We remember it's 4. The movie's iconic visuals and mysterious plot, combined with Clarke's thoughtful writing, made it a cultural phenomenon. Kind of. It sort of bombed at first, but whatever. Despite the Sentinel being the jumping-off point of the story 2001, it frustrated Clarke that people often referred to it as the basis for the film, saying, quote, "I am continually annoyed by the careless references to the Sentinel as the story on which 2001 is based. It bears about as much relation to the movie as an acorn to the resultant full-grown oak. Considerably less, in fact, because ideas from several other stories were also incorporated. Even the elements that Stanley Kubrick and I did actually use were considerably modified. Thus, the glittering, roughly pyramidal structure set in the rock like a gigantic multifaceted jewel became After several modifications, the famous Black Monolith and the locale was moved from the Mare Crisium to the most spectacular of all lunar craters, Tycho, easily visible to the naked eye from Earth at full moon. End quote. I feel like all that's missing from that statement is, fucking see, you bunch of dumb assholes. Totally fucking different. Jeez, just back off. But with the success of 2001, Clarke didn't stop there, of course. He wrote sequels like 2010, fucking ready. Yes, that's 2010 Odyssey 2, which also became a movie that was not great. It's because they changed it. It's fucked up. Anyway, he kept exploring the big questions about humanity, technology, and the universe in his books. After that is 2010, I think 2061, and then 3001, I think, are the rest of the sequels. I have them all upstairs. Anyway, that doesn't matter right now. Clarke wasn't just a storyteller. He was a scientist and advocate. He served as chairman of the BIS, the British Interplanetary Society, as I stated earlier, a super nerd fest. And he wrote popular science fiction books. He made science fiction more accessible and based it in more reality than a lot of books at the time, I would say. You know, everyone, all of them being nerds. Who read all this stuff. His 1945 satellite idea wasn't just, again, lucky guess. It's the reason why things like Dish Network and DirecTV work. Geostationary satellites. Ha ha ha. And because it was mentioned in the title sequence of his show, Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World, which I watched like a fiend growing up, I decided to do a little bit of a dive into his communication satellite stuff. Not deep, but to fill out the information, for the freaking nerds. Like me. Artie Clarke is widely credited with first conceptualizing the communication satellite with John R. Pierce, and is recognized for his significant contributions to the practical development and engineering of those satellites. Clarke's 1945 article, Extraterrestrial Relays, outlined the principles of using geostationary satellites for global communication. Pierce worked at Bell Labs and developed key technologies like the traveling wave tube, and led the team that designed the Echo 1 passive satellite. So there you have it. That's how Arthur C. Clarke contributed to real ass satellites being tossed up in the air and staying there in their geosynchronous orbits. In 1956, Clarke moved to Ceylon. It's now called Sri Lanka. Anyway, drawn by his love of scuba diving and underwater exploration, otherwise known as a death wish. Seriously, I get that before in the Dark Ages, or I don't know, the 1930s or something, whenever. Maybe it was neato, nifty, spiffy, to do some controlled drowning for leisure. But come on. We have underwater cameras attached to motors and shit now. Time to leave the beneath the sea world to remote-controlled submarines, people. Look. Arthur C. Clarke helped discover why do I keep throwing under into everything? He helped discover ancient underwater ruins by scuba diving, which, by the way, could all have been seen on a video camera saddled on a submarine, or submersible, or something. Cameras, let them go down there and implode and get brain damage. Nerds. Will they ever learn? All this floundering in the water did prove that his curiosity wasn't limited to outer space, so yeah, there's that. Clarke continued to write, explore, and inspire the world from his tropical home, becoming something of a local legend. He also became, he hosted Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World in the 1980s, where he explored everything from ancient mysteries to futuristic technology. That fucking show is great. Where are those shows at now? Clarke's they're on YouTube. They're all on YouTube, by the way. Clarke's contributions didn't go unnoticed. He was knighted in 1998, receiving Sri Lanka's highest civil honor, and racked up honors for both his fiction and his scientific work. Again, the Clarke orbit remains a lasting tribute to his vision and all those damn satellites. Unfortunately, because of being very old, Arthur C. Clarke passed away in 2008 in Colombo, Sri Lanka. But his influence lives on. He's remembered as one of the big three science fiction writers, along with Isaac Asimov and Robert Heinlein. He's one of the big three, and his books are still inspiring new generations of satellites, writers, and dreamers. Arthur's genius was in blending the hard science with the fantastical, but not, I don't know. It seemed like it was tied to reality. It had a foundation in the real world. And there was a lot of science fiction I've read that is just, fucking laser guns and just outlandish things like how ships move. And anyway, everybody's blasting off with rockets to everything. There wasn't real physics involved, Anyway, I'm going off on a stupid tangent. He believed in humanity's potential to reach for the stars. And he helped show us how. Whether you're reading Childhood's End or watching 2001: A Space Odyssey or just using your phone's internet connection, which is courtesy of communication satellites to send your, if you're using that to send your latest dick pic, you're living in a world Arthur C. Clarke helped shape, with his dreams and abuse of mind-altering science fiction. They were like a drug. That's what he said. If science fiction fucking alters your mind, it's the only one that can do it. It's better than drugs, baby. Fucking what? The journey that Arthur C. Clarke took to create 2001, Space Odyssey, it began with kind of a serendipitous connection that became, one of the greatest collaborations ever. Well, so far, anyway, like I probably mentioned before. Anyway, it unfolds, this story unfolds in the year of our Lord, 1964. The year of the Mustang, the Ford Mustang. It starts with Stanley Kubrick, fresh off the success of Dr. Strangelove, and another amazing movie that I think probably won an Oscar. I can't remember. It's got Peter Sellers in it. Yes. He plays multiple characters, and the whole Slim Pickens falling to the earth on an atomic bomb. That's an iconic scene. Anyway, Stanley Kubrick was searching for a way to craft the quote, the proverbial good science fiction movie. He was fascinated with extraterrestrial life and humanity's place in the cosmos, in the universe, in the galaxy, or whatever in the fuck, in space. And it led him to Arthur C. Clarke, of all people, because, he was putting out feelers, and his buddies were like, you should talk to Arthur C. He's long explored things like that, sir. And Stanley Kubrick was like, what the fuck, ever give me his number, it's fine. Despite initially dismissing Clarke as a nut who lives in a tree in India someplace, Kubrick reached out, like I said, through a mutual acquaintance, Mr. Roger Karras, who cabled Arthur C. with the proposal, which read exactly this. Stanley Kubrick - Dr. Strangelove, Paths of Glory, etc. Interested in doing film on ETs. Interested in you. Are you interested? He thought you were a recluse. That's such a weird, great note. It's like, guy's interested. He wants to do some stuff. Are you interested in that stuff? Check box if you like him back. Anyway, so just very bizarre. I just feel like it's a note being passed in class kind of situation. Like, he likes freaky aliens too. I think you guys would be cute together. Anyway, Clarke's response to that telegram, it's a cabled telegram. His response was frightfully interested in working with enfant terrible. Stop. Contact my agent. Stop. What makes Kubrick think I'm a recluse? Apparently that was taken as a witty response. That Stanley Kubrick thought, why does he think I'm a recluse? Anyway, his witty reply set the tone for their dynamic partnership. I didn't think it was witty. I thought it was just, why would he think that? It's fucking weird. Anyway, people think different things are witty. It's not my call. Their first meeting was at Trader Vic's, which is in the Plaza Hotel in New York City. It's a little restaurant bar, I guess. It's a very strange name. Anyway, it sparked an intellectual synergy that would consume them for the next 4 years of their lives. Quote, "We talked for 8 solid hours," Arthur C. Clarke recalled of his meeting with Mr. Stanley Kubrick for the first time. Kubrick expressed his desire to create a film about man's relationship to the universe, aiming to evoke emotions of wonder, and maybe even terror, because space is fucking terrifying. Clarke, intrigued by Kubrick's vision, offered several of his short stories about, space and stuff as potential source material. Among them was The Sentinel, which, as I said earlier, Arthur C. Clarke's like, that's not the beginning. Well, it turns out it was the seed of... Anyway, the Sentinel, yes. The Sentinel is a snail about the discovering of snailian snartifacts on the snoon. No. The Sentinel is a tale about discovering an alien artifact on the moon. An idea that would become basically the foundation of 2001, whether he likes it or not. Clarke described the Sentinel as open-ended, allowing its concept to expand both backward into prehistory and forward into humanity's future.
Hey, yo! Elton Neo! That was weird. Is it weird that I did that? Yeah, it was. Sorry, I was just trying something. But anyway, Elton Neo! Ariel, stop. Okay, listen. Guess what it's time for? Did you guess? Did ya? Too late! It's time for some ads. Oh, let that sweet ad manna rain down, baby. Give me those ads, man. Uh-huh. You get it.
Kubrick and Clarke got into brainstorming sessions that spanned books on anthropology. That's where they got the early human stuff from, and screenings of science fiction films, which Kubrick had a lot of issues with, and endless discussions about philosophy and technology. They saw a narrative that would explore human evolution, artificial intelligence, and extraterrestrial life, all framed by the discovery of mysterious monoliths, big stony-looking monoliths that they're not sure what they are. Big rectangles, big monoliths that seem to guide humanity's destiny. To generate ideas freely, Arthur C. suggested they write a novel first, which would later serve as the basis of the screenplay. This unconventional approach, of course, allowed them to refine their concepts while simultaneously creating a feedback loop between the novel and the script. Weeks were spent poring over the details of that story, of the 2001 story that unfolded between them. Kubrick admired Clarke's writing stamina during the process. That is until he walked into the office one day and found Arthur C. Slumped over his desk, surrounded by books. Kubrick rushed to his side and he slapped Arthur awake and he surveyed. He looked over the myriad of books splayed open all across the surface of his desk, and he said, God damn it, Clarke. You've been using again, man. All this sci-fi, it's too much, Arthur. Too much! Arthur turned his bloodshot eyes to Kubrick. I thought I could handle it, man. I can't let go. He broke down in sobs. While Kubrick confronted him. He said, "Well, we'll get you the help you need, Art. God damn it. We'll beat this sci-fi habit together, okay? We'll do it together." And Kubrick leaned in, and they embraced in a comforting embrace, and then a kiss, and then they made out for a little while, and it just went from there, you know, just a deep, sensual kiss, just embracing each other, and things went on, and it had been building since their first meeting, and but Arthur had to kick the habit, and soon after their wedding, he went into rehab to kick his sci-fi mind expansion habit. Well, well, you know what that was. So I'm just going to move on. And just, that was complete and total nonsense. Okay, one of their most iconic sequences that they wrote together or made together was the Dawn of Man. That emerged from this process, the writing process. That is not the made-up science fiction love affair thing that I've just made up. No. Clarke proposed a flashback spanning 3 million years, going back 3 million years to show how alien visitors influenced early humans, setting them on the path towards intelligence and tool use, beating the shit out of things with bones. This sequence culminates in Kubrick's famous edit. A prehistoric bone tossed into the air, and it transforms or transitions, crossfades, into a spacecraft orbiting Earth. A leap across millennia that encapsulates humanity's technological evolution. It is a neat scene. Anyway, go watch the movie. It's on Max, I think. Anyway, it's really good. Boring as fuck, but it is very good. Just get through it. Just get through it. As they worked on the project, Kubrick and Clarke experimented with titles like Journey Beyond the Stars, which sucked, and Tunnel to the Stars, which, as you know, sucked even more. Probably because it sounded like people trying very hard to secretly escape from a border town across from outer space. Regardless, the title that was ultimately settled on was, of course, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is dangerously close to sounding like the model of the car the Jetsons used in the Jetsons cartoon. I don't know what the what model the name was. It wasn't pretty sure they mentioned it in the cartoon, but I like to think it was called the Space Odyssey. Anyway, Kubrick drew inspiration from Homer's The Odyssey, likening space exploration to the Greeks' perception of the sea as vast and mysterious. And of course, that particular Odyssey being the only Odyssey anyone really knows, if we're being honest. The title reflected both literary ambition and thematic depth. Their collaboration wasn't without humor or friction, of course. Kubrick often dismissed Clarke's film suggestions because, he was an author, not a filmmaker. I mean, he once vowed never to trust his taste after watching an outdated sci-fi movie Clarke had recommended, but respected his scientific expertise. Meanwhile, Clarke marveled at Kubrick's obsessive attention to detail because, Kubrick was a filmmaker and not a novelist, noting how even minor decisions underwent exhaustive deliberation. Nerds judging nerds. That would be the ultimate and also worst reality game show ever. Just putting that out there into the universe. I know it's been tried before. There was some game show with a Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, and I actually think other cast members from Revenge of the Nerds hosted it. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a thing. You can look it up. I don't know. But nerds criticizing each other across their differing fields of expertise without being nerds about it themselves, about those. That kind of shit would move a metric ton of popcorn. I mean, seriously, nerds on nerds.
Excuse me, but do you really need to be spending so much time on this medium low-angle shot? It seems to be very time-consuming for, if I may be so bold, very little payoff, don't you think? Sure, I get it though, it's a super cool freaking spaceship floating towards Jupiter or whatever. But I mean, come on. It's alright to just get the freaking shot and move the heck on, David O. Selznick.
Who the freaking darn heck are you talking to exactly, smart guy?
You! Obviously, you freaking Weisenheimer. Listen, I don't want to have to pull rank or anything on you, bucko. But as the writer of the gosh darn movie that you're shooting,
that just tells me that you don't know what the freak about anything. Especially what the flip-fudging crap I actually do. Awesome.
Yeah, and
Did you ever hear about opinions being like buttholes? Well, it's true. Okay,
my
there,
Lanta,
I said
I can't believe
I didn't want to have to get aggressive like that, but
how dare you
kind of forced my hand there, mister.
That I'm so
if you wouldn't mind taking your mother truck and flipping ideas on what the flip I'm shooting over there where I can't hear them. Jeepers
I can't
creepers,
believe
you're
the amount of
a pest,
disrespect.
a gosh darned pest. Oh, while we're on the subject, in the story here where you wrote about the transition between the tense exchange between the main characters on the moon base here, and the investigator sends a message to the spaceship's computer on this page here.
What about it,
See, I think it could be better served if that whole exchange were changed to something more effusive and light. I feel like it's not holding the weight of the narrative thread suitably the way you have it, sir.
Just how are you even in this business
right here
anyway?
in the script here.
Oh, okay. Okay, so while we're being so honest, could I ask a small favor? Could you point me in the direction of someone nearby that would be nice enough to hold me back? Because I feel like I'm gonna have to slap a bitch in the mouth right now!
Just think about it, universe. Please? When 2001 A Space Odyssey premiered in 1968, it split audiences with its enigmatic storytelling, and it fucking is. Anyway, it's very quiet and just not a lot said. And it's an enigmatic storytelling and revolutionary visuals, which they fucking are. Yet, its exploration of existential themes, human evolution, artificial intelligence, fucking HAL 9000, and the cosmic transcendence it represented, represented? That's not the right word, is it? Visualized? It showed on the screen, the cosmic transcendence. Anyway, it cemented its status as a masterpiece. For Clarke, it was not just a film, but an expression of humanity's quest for meaning in an infinite universe, a vision born from two minds daring to imagine what lies beyond. Now, they made this movie and book at the same time. So what is this madness all about? The book that came from their collaboration. What was the product of the science fiction addled brain? And what had it shat out? 2001, this book. It's more or less this. Man apes. Early man, they're hairy, they're somewhat walking upright. Those crazy monkeys that would later evolve into us were barely scraping by back then. By gathering nuts and berries and shit. They were on the brink of starvation. And it looks as though, humanity is about to fucking wither on the vine. They're about to die the fuck on out, destined to die off before it started. There would be no phone, no lights, no motor car, not a single luxury. Like Robinson Crusoe. It's primitive. They were primitive as can be. If you get that reference, you're old. Okay, anyway. Suddenly, in an area near the small group of monkeys, a giant monolith appeared and began to experiment with them. I mean, they didn't know they were being experimented with, but probing their developing minds and pushing them forward mentally, Among those in whom the monolith took an interest was a man ape more ape than man, named Moonwatcher, the only man-ape thing who walked fully upright. At night, a few select man-apes were taught, and during the day, they innovated. As if he'd been freebasing science fiction for days, Moonwatcher discovered that he could fashion tools with which to kill animals for sustenance. The man-ape's hunger problem was solved. Yay! Murder for hunger. His mind had been expanded. Moonwatcher also learned the time-honored tradition of beating the ever-loving fuck out of a rival group leader with whom he felt threatened, and he did it with a bone. And then he stood over his corpse triumphantly, instilling both respect and fear into his fellow, not-so-murdery man-ape counterparts. That's some advanced human brain stuff, folks. Time passed and man-ape evolved. His brain grew. He invented language and organized into civilizations. And he invented weapons. First, beating sticks. Then, stabby sticks, knifey sticks. But then, pew-pew guns. And finally, nuclear fucking missiles. Such innovations had been central in man's dominion over Earth. But as long as they existed, he was living on borrowed time. Cut to a scene of a guy eager to embark on a space mission, on another space mission. His name is Dr. Haywood Floyd. He arrived at a Florida launch location after meeting with the president. He offered no comment to the press when he was asked, nor would he reveal the details of the mission to the crew, yet served him so faithfully on board, or to his Russian friend, whom he encountered at the joint USSR space station, a stop on his journey to the moon. Did you get all that? Just a quick aside here. Isn't it crazy how much how our relationship with the press has changed since the late 60s? I mean, back then it was the news. It was the news on, a few TV stations and a zillion newspapers to feed the eyes and ears of Americans with what was happening during the day's events. That's all they had. They didn't have any internet or anything. Now we're just lost in a blizzard of ever more videos, meme posts, and clips and podcasts. It's just wild how much it's been degraded. It has yet to find its footing again. It just blows my mind sometimes. And also, by the way, thank you for listening to this podcast. Although it's not the news, which is important, and you should definitely listen to those reliably putting out trusted content like NPR and Reuters, sometimes Al Jazeera, whatever. Still, out of all the things vying for your precious time, you chose to spend a little snippet of it here with me talking nonsense. I appreciate that. Now, back to the not-so-psychedelic Haywood Floyd of 2001. You see that Floyd, the pink? Upon his arrival, Floyd is greeted by a top official of the moon colony and whisked off to a meeting. A lead scientist explains that they had found an enigmatic disturbance in Tycho. Tycho. I never know how to pronounce that. Even when I read the books when I was little, I was like, Tycho. I'm going to say Tycho. I'll go with Tycho. Tycho is one of the moon's craters. An examination of the area had revealed a large black slab called a Tycho Magnetic Anomaly, or TMA-1. It was precisely fashioned and at 3 million years of age predates human beings. It is the first definitive proof of the existence of extraterrestrial intelligent life. Floyd and a team of scientists drive across the moon and actually view TMA-1. When they discover the giant black slab and sunlight hits upon it for the first time, it sends forth a piercing sound and a strong wave signal to the far reaches of the universe. Davy Dave Bowman, and Frank Poole were the conscious human beings aboard the Discovery spaceship on its way to Saturn. 3 of their colleagues were hibernating to be awoken when they approached Saturn. By the way, a little advice, folks. Should you ever find yourself in a fictional story and you're in the hibernation chamber or whatever kind of situation that is, while other characters are puttering about doing other shit, you're the character that's about to die. Just know that. You're asleep in the tube. You will never wake. You're never going to wake up. You're dead. Additionally, on the ship, just jumping to the left, with a step to the right. Anyway, additionally, Hal, an artificially intelligent computer, maintained the ship that Dave Bowman and Frank Poole are on, the Discovery. Hal drives the ship. He maintains the ship, the computer. I keep saying he. Anyway, it's an artificially intelligent computer that maintains the ship and was an active part of life aboard the ship. Bowman and Poole's day-to-day lives had been immaculately planned. Their days were highly structured to ensure the continued success of the mission, to make sure that nothing went wrong. As the ship neared Jupiter, it released probes to gather information to be sent back to Earth and studied. Discovery then took advantage of Jupiter's gravitational field to get an extra push of speed toward Saturn. Poole is having a birthday video transmitted to him by his family back home when Hal interrupts him to tell him the AE-35 unit of the ship is set to malfunction. Poole in the book, the AE-35 is what keeps the antenna in contact with the Earth. So if it's off by even a little bit, they can't talk to Earth anymore and receive videos and messages. So Poole takes one of the extra vehicular pods and goes out and replaces the AE-35 unit. He has to go outside the ship to do this. And like I said, it maintains the radio contact with Earth. And Bowman conducts a test on the AE-35 unit that has been replaced and discovered that nothing is wrong with it. Later, Hal, the AI computer, claims that the second AE-35 unit is set to fail. Suspicious, Poole and Bowman radio back to Earth. They are told that something is wrong with the computer, Hal, and are given instructions to shut him off. These instructions are interrupted as the signal fades. The AE-35 unit has malfunctioned. Poole and Bowman begin to wonder how they will reestablish communication with Earth because Hal is the one that knows how to point the fucking dish at the Earth. Poole takes again the extravehicular pod thing, little tiny ship, outside the main ship to bring in that failed AE-35 unit so they can test it and stuff. As he's working on getting the unit off of the side of the ship or whatever, off the antenna, the pod, which he had left kind of further from the ship, takes him the fuck out in the most anticlimactic way you can imagine. However, is a very real possibility in the nightmare void of space. He gets fucking bumped and just floats away. Like he gets pushed, like shoved. And just floats the fuck away. And as a kid, when I learned about the actual not fuck around physics at play in outer space, I was absolutely terrified. It seems like an easy concept to understand. There's no friction in space, no air, nothing to stop you, nothing. But really thinking about the implications of that, the real implications. One slip and you're fucking gone. Like alive and just floating in a straight line in whatever direction you got bumped off to for fucking ever. There's no stopping you. You're done. That's it. There's no like, well, I can, get a fishing pole and through a line. No, that's it. All done. God forbid you get knocked off your ship or whatever and you tumble off end over end, like a somersault or something into space. If you don't have some kind of booster pack or some way to stop that rotation, some spacesuit redirection system or some such shit, you'll be spinning that way forever, end over end, with nothing to stop you ever. What the fucking fuck? I mean, goddamn, I'm almost having a panic attack right now. Even worse, if you're blasted off into space, like hit by something, like with force, and that tosses you off the ship with enough force that you reach a certain velocity. If a rescue mission ship or whatever can't maneuver in time to get to you, and you could just be floating, just theoretically, just out of reach of the ship. Like they could be just, trying to get out there, and you can just be just out of reach forever. Imagine that. You're kicked off the ship and they're speeding off at 20 miles per hour and you're 100 feet away, and the ship takes the time to turn around and go after you, but they can only close the distance to 50 feet from you, or 20 feet, or 10 feet from you. And then with them going max speed to try and catch you, you will forever be, 10 feet away from them. Unless they magically come up with more power on a ship in the middle of space, where they cannot possibly do that. Fuck that. Nope. You'll just be another object in space. They can't reach you. And you them. That's it. They'll just get to watch you die just out of reach. Motherfucker. Nope. Anyway, Poole ends up being unable to move out of the way in time of the pod that just shoves him, and he is killed by the collision. Sort of. Anyway, there's spoiler later. Anyway, for another book. Bowman is shocked by Poole's death and is deeply distraught. He wonders why could Hal really have killed him? He decides that he'll need to wake the other three astronauts from their hibernation. He has a long argument with Hal, and at the end of which, because Bowman threatens to disconnect him, Hal agrees to give him manual control over the process of ending hibernation. Then things go real bad after that. I don't want to spoil it for you. It is a good book. It has some flaws in the style. A few people have said. Many people have said. Not many. That's an exaggeration. A few. There's always going to be critics. Anyway, it's a good book. So I've been overall, for me, it was great. I've read the entire series multiple times. Go get it. There's a link in the description, folks. Buy it there, and I get a little kickback, and I'd appreciate it. Okay, moving along to, let's talk about the fucking movie. Okay, the book, it goes on from after Poole's death, and then Dave learns about why Hal acted the way he did, and it's a good book. And what's really out there in space. Whoa, that's a teaser, isn't it? What's really out there hanging around Jupiter? What was the signal coming from the moon? What was that all about? Go read the book. It's a really good book. Now the movie, let me tell you. The making of 2001, Space Odyssey, the movie, it was fucking nuts. It was a fucking roller coaster of genius, obsession, and how the fuck did they do that? Did you see that shit? She fucking flips upside down on camera. Everything is fucking floating. What? There's a lot of those moments. Directed by legendary perfectionist, supreme super asshole Stanley Kubrick, and co-written with strung out on sci-fi super nerd Arthur C. Clarke. Like I've been saying before, this film changed sci-fi forever. But boy, did it take a fuck ton of blood, sweat, and probably a few torturous days of take after take after take after take to get there. From mind-blowing special effects created without goddamn computers, to a spinning set that made actors throw the fuck up, to a lit-up disco floor that superheated a room and made people almost sweat to death. I'm guessing. I have no evidence of that, but it did superheat the room. Here's the not nearly comprehensive, more like an overview of how this cosmic, fucking wild, weird, psychedelic thing, sci-fi masterpiece came to exist. Like I mentioned earlier, back in 1964, the year of the Mustang. The Ford Mustang, not the horse. Anyway, the year after the Beatles sparked Beatlemania, huh? Kubrick was done with cheesy Alien B sci-fi movie bullshit. He told a fellow director during a cocaine bender in San Francisco, I'm fucking done with this cheesy B movie shit, man. You know, I want to make a movie where shit floats, man. You know, like really floats. And when his equally coked out friend reminded him that shit really does float. Depending on fiber content and fat content of the shit. Stanley Kubrick looked at him, stunned and annoyed. He's like, "What the fuck are you? What are you talking about, man? What are we I mean, shit floating, but shit floating in the movie." Thus ensued a back and forth between he and his friend for roughly half an hour, often involving onlookers, who chimed in with their take on the hows and whys of shit floating. It wasn't until a few months later, on the set of 2001, that Stanley looked back and understood where the conversation kind of went wrong. No, of course not. None of that happened. Kubrick said he wanted to make the proverbial, the good sci-fi film. And again, like I said earlier, roped in Arthur C. Clarke to brainstorm, and they spent that year plotting the story, which Arthur C. later turned into his novel. Fun fact, the original title, Voyage Beyond the Stars. One of them considered. But Kubrick hated the 1966 film Fantastic Voyage because he hated Coolio. Once being quoted as saying, quote, "I fucking hate Coolio," unquote. Kidding, of course. He disliked the film Fantastic Voyage so much he scrapped the Voyage Beyond the Stars title bullshit for 2001. And it stuck. Why? Because in the 1960s, anything associated with the 2000s sounded futuristic. Kind of like how... I don't know. The year 3000 sounds futuristic. Well, namely, because literally it's in the future, but also, 3000. Anyway, when it came to doing this 2001 shit up right, Kubrick wasn't fucking around. He hired Frederick Ordway and Henry Lang, actual rocket scientists, to design everything from spaceships to zero-gravity toilets. And they did so at gunpoint. Kubrick, coked up, stayed up for 84 hours straight, holding a 6-shot pistol on him at all times. Make it real, motherfuckers! Make it real, he would demand, from behind his crazed eyes and constant sweating. Okay, listen, I'll stop. All right. For real, along with real rocket scientists, heavyweight nerds were brought in from places like IBM, Boeing, and GE. I've heard of them. They were brought in to consult, making the tech so realistic NASA later used clips of the movie for training, because nerd game recognizes nerd game. You know what I'm saying? One engineer joked, "We basically built a fake space program, but cooler." Oh, does that speak volumes? Nerds. He was talking about the actual movie. They basically made a fake space program, but cooler. He's talking about the movie, not the conspiracy theory that Stanley Kubrick helped fake the moon landing, which is just insane. Anyway, not even getting into that. I'm not entertaining it. Well, fuck it. Apparently, because of this movie and how fucking awesome the special effects are and the visuals, the theory is that because this was made, I guess, anyway, this was, I don't remember the fucking timeline, but NASA contacted Kubrick or something to fake the moon landings, to visually fake them for the people at home, so that people would be convinced we went to the moon. Makes no sense. it's nonsense anyway. But that's the conspiracy theory, that because of all the stuff that they learned from this movie and all this and the visuals, that he was hired to help fake the moon landings, which is preposterous. Anyway, we really did land on the moon, you fucking weirdos. Anyway, so how were those unforgettable? How the fuck did they do that? Am I high? Am I high right now? Am I in the future? How were those scenes made? Kubrick's team used rotating glass and model ships on tracks at different points. The iconic Stargate sequence at the end, that trippy light show that is really great on certain mind-altering. That's really good after reading a bunch of sci-fi. The fucking mind-opening. That trippy light show was filmed by filming paint splattered in slow motion behind a slit in a glass panel. Doug Trumbull, the effects whiz, called it controlled chaos, and it blew minds so much that Star Trek copied the technique for their warp speed effect. Why? Because, like I said before, nerd game recognizes nerd game. Represent. Yeah, I'm not doing that again. The lunar surface scenes used actual NASA photos, which were brand new at the time. The crew dumped gray painted plaster on giant stages, flicked water to create craters, and even imported sand to get the texture just right. Kubrick's obsession, it was an obsession, it paid off. When Neil Armstrong walked on the moon in 1969, conspiracy theorists, like I said before, swore Kubrick faked it using his 2001 sets. Just so you know, he didn't. Or did he? He didn't. But did he? Seriously, he didn't. No, he didn't. Or did he? No, look, if we know anything, it's that it's fun to fuck with conspiracy theorists. It really, really is. Because, here, I'll fuck with them some more. Just, hey, any moon landing conspiracy theorists out there, Dan Aykroyd included, guys, explain the retroreflectors on the moon, you fucking weirdos. Sorry, valued listeners who believe in anything but verifiable reality. Fucking fixed it. High five myself. Thanks, Elton. I know. We know. Anyway, just there are retroreflectors on the moon. Fucking. The Discovery 1's centrifuge, where Dave jogs in the movie like a hamster in a wheel, but the damn camera following him was a real rotating set built by a British aircraft company. My God. It weighed 30 fucking tons and cost, oh my God, $750,000. That's about $750,000 back then. That's about $6 million today. The actors had to hit their marks exactly while the room fucking spun. And the crew actually once forgot to bolt down a camera, and it flew off and nearly took out Keir Dullah's head. That's the actor who played Dave in the movie. I imagine the first thing that Stanley Kubrick, because he's Stanley Kubrick, the first thing he said after that was, after the camera landed and the smell of Keir Dullah's shit-laden pants hit the air, the first thing he said was, "Whatever. Did you get the fucking shot or what?" So how do you make a pen float back in the 1960s with no CGI and shit? Do you want to know? Do you want to know how the pen floated in that scene where the lady goes out and grabs it? She just, the stewardess, she's a stewardess. She goes out and just grabs it. Do you know how that happened? Just grabs it. Double-sided tape. Taped the pen to a rotating disc. Double-sided tape, which was new at the time, was taped to a glass rotating disc right in front of the camera. There's a video of it online of one of the special effects guys explaining it. Fucking genius. 3 things happen when I see someone explain shit like that and how it was really done in movies, like practical effects. 1, I'm in awe of the inventive genius at play to come up with the means to make that work and make it look believable. And 2, I'm always amazed at the simplicity of how they pulled it off. It's hardly ever some multi-engineered, complicated engineering feat with pulleys and specialized, intricate machinery that had to be specially made. I mean, tape a pen to some glass. Boom. Floating fucking pen. Like, what? Fucking what? And 3. I am far too stupid to work on a special effects team of any stripe anywhere. Like, how do you film someone walking upside down, build a rotating room, and have the actress walk in place? You know, you lock off the camera and have... Like what? The same trick was used for Dancing on the Ceiling, the video with Lionel Richie, which blew my fucking mind as a kid when I watched that on MTV. That and his Jerry curl fro. It was a fro and a mullet at the same time. That's a bold choice. And looking back, I don't know if it really worked for him. Oh, and fun fact, if you go back and watch that video, which is on YouTube, you'll find that Lionel Richie's band in that video consists of a guitar player, bass player, and a guitar player, with no amp or cord connecting any of them to anything that would render sound for any of it. Oh, and the drummer is a guy air drumming, but with sticks. So a noiseless band, essentially, while Lionel Richie walks up walls and dances on. And then they all dance on the ceiling. So while that's happening, they couldn't figure out how amps worked or bring any of them along with them on their weird wall-walking journey. And also Cheech Marin is in it. Why? I doubt even Cheech knows why he's in it. And then there's a little Rodney Dangerfield at the end for good measure. That is some wild shit. Fuck, the 80s were so weird. Anyway, Kubrick's team used every trick in the book. And when they ran out of fucking tricks, Kubrick beat them senseless until they invented new ones. Okay, well, maybe partially that. The details were amazing too, like the instructions for the zero gravity toilet were real and a mile long, which is funny when you think it's fair to say that in that scene, Haywood probably needs to take a shit and has to read through what looks like miles of instructions. And the stewardess's Velcro shoes, by the way, that she uses in the movie, they were legit NASA prototypes for that kind of thing. Kubrick, infamous for demanding endless fucking takes, opened the Dawn of Man scene with the apes. That opening scene, it was shot for 6 months because he kept tweaking the fucking lighting. Actor Dan Richter, who played the monkey man thing Moonwatcher, said he'd finish a shot and Stanley would go, needs more mud on the left. And the crew, like, I would fucking punch him. The crew started calling the ape costumes fur prisons because they took hours to put on. And fucking what? Kubrick's obsession drove some crew members to therapy. He'd call actors at 3 a.m. to discuss scenes. He'd fired his first cinematographer for being too slow. And he once made a prop guy hand paint 2,000 tiny warning labels for a spaceship. But as Keir Dullea, the guy who played Dave, put it, you didn't say no to Stanley. You just didn't sleep. Like fucking what? Remember how I said it's quiet? It's a fucking quiet movie. There's not a lot going on. The film has 88 minutes with no dialogue. The first 25 minutes are just apes grumping and hitting things and shit. And spaceships gliding into position. Like fucking... The last 23 minutes are Trippy Light's show in space. Trippy just tripping out. And what's it? Keir Dullea. Just making faces in the camera like he's just fucking, I don't know, jerking off, whatever. He's making weird faces and cutting between them. It's 23 minutes of that. But Kubrick insisted, if you can't say it visually, don't fucking say it. Because the MGM executives panicked when they saw it was that much with no dialogue. And he's like, if you can't do it, if you can't say it visually, don't say it. Which, I get it. It's Stanley Kubrick. He's pretty fucking... Visually, he makes things awesome. I'm got no me words. Anyway, HAL 9000's red eye was a fisheye lens from a World War II bomber. His calm voice, done by the amazing Douglas Rain, was inspired by a Canadian newscaster. Oh, and that famous "Good morning, Dave" line is never actually said in the movie. Everyone misremembers it because Hal's passive aggression left them traumatized. He never actually says, "Good morning, Dave," ever. Isn't that crazy? Oh, and here's a little thing that you may have heard, a little rumor. I don't know when it even started, but it's widely believed that Pink Floyd almost did the soundtrack for 2001: A Space Odyssey. But there's no definitive evidence to confirm this. The band is often associated with the film due to the synchrony, how it synchronizes Pink Floyd's Echoes with the Jupiter and Beyond Infinite sequence. The fucking when he goes to Jupiter and the trippy light show. However, according to Far Out magazine, Nick Mason and Pink Floyd said that the band would have loved to contribute to the film, but it's possible that they were never formally approached because Kubrick had already commissioned Alex North to write the score, which was actually later abandoned in favor of classical pieces. So that must have sucked for everyone all the way around. Well, I mean, maybe Alex North got paid, so what the fuck does he care? Kubrick asked the band to score the film. That's the legend that he reached out for them to score the film, but they were recording an album then. And so then he just had to fall back to Strauss's Blue Danube, which he felt was inseparable from the film, which now feels inseparable from the film. Actually, fun fact, the studio hated that he used those classical things, and they begged him to use an original score. But Kubrick fucking ignored them, as Kubrick does. Kubrick does what Kubrick does. Here are some accidental prophecies. 2001 predicted maybe iPads. That's from the astronauts' news tablets when they're on the ship reading the news. They predicted video calls when Haywood Floyd's daughter talks to him via the chat thingy. And Alexa-style AI, because they ask Hal for all kinds of shit, and he's like, sure. Though let's hope that Alexa doesn't turn into something that kills us all. The film's tech was spot on. That Apple cited it as an inspiration for the iPad's design, actually. So, anyway, Kubrick and Clarke showed. They wanted to show humanity's evolution from apes to star children. That's a spoiler, but also how we're still primal. That bone to space cut, where he tosses the bone up. Originally, Kubrick had a nuclear bomb floating in space, but cut it because subtlety is scarier. Joke's on him. The studio, they didn't get it. And would people have gotten it? I mean, regardless, after the movie was made, it initially bombed. Audiences walked out in confusion, which I get. Critics called it fucking boring, which, yes, I get that too. But Kubrick's obsession with creating a visual language that sci-fi movies would copy for fucking ever. Because of that movies, but things like Star Wars, Interstellar, and the Expanse, they still rip that fucking movie off. Those rotating sets used again in Inception. The minimalist storytelling is basically every A24 produced film ever, more or less. So next time you should watch 2001. Every frame is a middle finger to cutting corners. And if you ever meet a director complaining about CGI costs, just whisper, Stanley Kubrick built a spinning fucking room in 1965. I think you'll be all right. So look, go watch the movie, read the book and go watch the movie. Do both. They are both amazing. I think the movie is an amazing visual companion to the book itself. The book is also very gives the movie a lot more depth. It explains a lot of what happens in the movie, because the movie, again, doesn't have a lot of dialogue in it. But the book itself explains so much of what happens in the movie. It's like they're married. You shouldn't do one without the other. It's just a testament to just how Arthur C. Clarke's vision translates, can be seen in such a visual way, especially by someone like Stanley Kubrick, who was he was such a prick to everybody, but also a visual genius. Speaking of which, every time, should you watch that movie, just know that every frame in that movie is a middle finger to cutting corners. And should you ever meet someone, a director maybe, or whatever, complaining about what things cost, or how much time it's taking, or like the CGI costs, or whatever, just say, hey, Kubrick built a spinning room in 1965 to get his shit done. Calm the fuck down. You'll be just fine. And now, when life gives you lemon.
Lately, I've been thinking about jumping off of buildings. No, I'm not thinking of painting the pavement with my face. Those concrete pouring guys do fine work all on their own. I don't feel that I can contribute much by getting intimate with their work at 120 miles per hour. No, I've been thinking about the mental faculties at work that make jumping from buildings seem, thrilling. I was thinking about that extreme, what is it, a sport? Is it a sport? I don't know. It's the thing called base jumping. There are lots of videos. It's not hard to find. Anyway, it's a terrible idea. Always has been. And in so many ways, the most important one being that it's for wimps. Yeah, you heard... Okay, wait, let me explain. Okay, sure, I get the adrenaline junkie component. It's dumb, but sure. I get that there might be something to scaring the crap out of yourself to get the blood pumping or whatever. I've had more than a few close calls with a fugly one-night stand and a false positive pregnancy test to know the heartbeat of fear. For the record, yeah, I wore a rubber. I'm not an idiot. Was there a better than nil chance it expired by more than a year before I opened it? Well, yeah, probably. I'd like to brag and say they're all from the fresh case I have to buy every month, but, no. Look, I never said I was smart either. That's beside the point. Willingly tossing yourself off tall stationary objects to flirt with a collision with the largest object you've ever known is, I'm sorry, kinda sad. Weird and sad. Weirad. Wada. Shit. No. Wad? Did I just invent the word rad, but with a speech impediment? Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, right, jumping off tall things to threaten the planet with a belly flop is just silly. It's an exercise in non-committal. Everybody knows you're not going to go through with it. You wore a parachute strapped to your back, for God's sake. You're not fooling anyone. It's, almost bravery. Almovery, if you will. It's knowing you're going to swerve at the last minute before you ever start playing chicken. Give it a rest, will you? Leave it to people that follow through. It ends gross because it's supposed to be a deterrent against half-assed attempts. Folks that want to do the deed do the deed. They get the splat they want, and we get the gooey, lumpy visual. You're just cheating the process with your base jumping nonsense. Now, full disclosure, I may have taken one Valium too many before doing this, so keep that in mind when I, what was I talking about again? WADA? No, bring it home, Lemon. It's WAD. Fucking nailed it.
Thank you for listening to Elton Reads a Book a Week. I really enjoy making these, and I really like that you like listening to them. I appreciate that so much. If you want to reach out to me, email me at eltonreadsabookweek@gmail.com, and I probably will get back to you. Actually, I think I might change that email to something different. It's getting a little populated with nonsense, so I might be changing that email soon. I'll let you know in the description if I have. And also, if you'd like to contribute to the creation of this podcast, you can become one with the podcast by contributing through patreon.com and this podcast Patreon page, which I am going to start peppering with other shit very, very soon, probably today. I don't know. I'm going to do a lot more with it. I need to get on that shit. But go there and you can give me whatever. Or leave me a tip even. You can do that. I have a link to all that stuff in the description. I put it all back into whatever I have to do to make this podcast. It just goes right back into it. So if you feel like contributing to it, please, by all means, help me make the thingy. Okay. And if you can't do that, or also in addition, if you want to do that, follow the podcast on all the social medias and share it. Share the podcast with people who might like it, people who don't like it, everyone who may or may not know about it or don't want to know about it. Everyone you can think of, dead or living. I don't care. I do care. I want to expand this audience so there are more people. Because I think it's great to share back and forth this kind of stuff. I don't know what I'm saying. I love you. And so if you can share it and spread the good gospel. Good God. But if you think somebody will like it, it'd be nice to share it. So please do. I'd appreciate it. And overall, thank you for listening. You. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I really do. Love you to death. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. So again, thank you for listening. And not a guilt trip. This is not a guilt trip. Go read a book this week. Or start one. Just start one. Crack a book open. What's it going to hurt? Don't let them die out. Okay? I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
You know, I'm starting to think that he's purposefully leaving me out of this stuff, man. Seriously, it's kind of fucked up, you know? After all the thick and thin, the push and pull, the what? Yank and crank? Wait, yank? No, that doesn't sound right, does it?
God, no, it's weird, if anything. Yanking and cranking, that's just bizarre, that is. Painful, more like. Hey, anyway, look, I'm sure there will be a part in the next one for you. I'm sure of it.
Oh, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you hearing me out like this, for real. It's a great thing you're doing here. Just real solid. I'm at a loss for,
No, I get it. It's a terrible feeling to feel like you've been left out, right? I absolutely understand where you're coming from, mate. Just give it time. I hear he's already writing the next one, yeah? It's about some dead music artist bloke or something. Recently dead, if I heard the rumor correctly. I'm sure he's slotting you into it as we speak, mate. No worries.
Ah, you're the best, man. Thank you for that. Seriously, I feel better already.
It's the least I could do, mate. The least I could do.
No, man, no, I feel a lot better. I can't thank you enough. Hey, you know, man, if ever you need me, you know, a shoulder to cry on, or like a partner for badminton doubles or whatever, I'm here for you, man. Whatever you need, anytime.
Badminton doubles? Sure. Thank you, mate. I'll keep that in mind. If it comes down to that, I'll reach out. Everyone needs a friend, you know. Yeah, no yanking. Won't be needing that from you, mate. Right?
Whoa. Don't go knocking it until you try it, man.